Any other questions or discussion?
Hey, just Brett, for the audience, did Brock's position on video is he voting on?
No.
We just talked about that, whether the school wanted to be involved or not. You've always got them.
And I also want to thank you for being here. I appreciate it, and we want to have the county involved in it too. And so I do think that's a great thing. We want to be open and do more as far as information and things like that. So, and I really appreciate you being here, because sometimes you don't always get everything, the full flavor of things, just by surveys and emails and things like that. So I do think that if we've learned a few things that we want to be good partners, because we're all in it together. And so communications.
Well, you'd say, Brock, the school has benefited by the economic growth the city's had, and it has brought increased access to the school.
Yeah, I would certainly agree with that. I think any economic development for the city is good for the school district. I think it's good for the city as a whole. I mean, there's always going to be the question about when do you get that benefit, but certainly how we certify the revenue we get from the county is a little unique in that we're certifying a dollar amount, and that dollar amount is tied to whatever those levies are. So once the county approves that dollar amount, that's what we're going to see, and that's benefited by not only residential growth, but certainly commercial growth. And we want to be good partners. I think we've got a great relationship with all the entities that are represented here, and we want to continue to do that. I think we echo what Commissioner Corn said. We're all in this together, whether that's commercial development, residential development, partnership with the park district, all taxing entities. We're all really working on behalf of one taxpayer, and I think that's important issue for them, and we want to be a good partner.
Another question on the motion that's been made. What is the pilot schedule, Jim? We have that. There's nothing in the application specs on here. Is this like 100% for 15 years? Is there staggered or different percentages?
It would be 100% exemption, so it would strictly just continue to pay on the land for years 6 through 20. But again, the pilot is only on the revenue producing things. The pilot does not go to the condo.
Chairman, this is a big one. I found out 30 seconds into the meeting. So, yeah. No, just stepping up to the table today, it is kind of curious that this committee does have a policy. We all know that they're being revised. It's not complete yet. Mayor, you mentioned that there were 5 or 6 other, maybe not similar, but somewhat similar applications that were consistent with the policy that have been approved. So that this is a step completely outside the box. But other than Union Storage, what were the other?
Woodrow Wilson.
Woodrow Wilson, the Black Building, Cityscapes, Forest. I think we've pretty very paused a little bit on some of the economic development guidelines over the years too. But it's always good to revisit these policies and get more in sync with our actions versus our written policy.
Jim, do you have some more comments?
No, I think I'm done.
All right. I think we're ready for, we have a motion and a second. I think we're ready to call the question. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Very good. Thank you very much. Now, Ben, what is agenda item number 2? Not to rush you, but
Okay, this was a pilot that was granted on a low-income housing tax credit project back in 2004. And we are several years into it. Obviously, there's 3 years remaining on the pilot. It was granted and now we consider the pilot within our realm. And the pilot currently is actually hired as requesting out of the pilot.
and while you're handing that out, so is this, if we approve this, let's say, would we be setting a precedent and we'd be seeing other requests similar to that?
Very likely, yes.
And like, and I guess maybe this could be a request for the future, but maybe we could get some kind of a spreadsheet to see what the economic impact would be. If that happens.
If you look at the schedule on the back,
Hi there. Well, no, question before the big news gets here. What percentage in dollars or do you think Kilbourne Group has of all RZ downtown?
It's really hard to say. I'd have to look at the numbers, but we do have those numbers, so we could get that to you.
Okay. Do you think it's like more than 20%?
I don't think so. It's really hard for me to say.
Okay.
These have been going on for, like they said, a generation. So I mean, it's been going on a really long time, and it's just really hard to say what percent
Okay.
is getting. But we do have those numbers. So
Very good. Like right here at Commission office?
yeah, you can go there and they can get that for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Is it already on, or?
Yeah, if it's not, if you want, you can just put it right there, you can hide it easily. Sometimes that works a little better if we're not moving around. That's upside down. Like that.
Okay, thank you.
Guys' shirts always work really
All
nice
right.
for that. Yep, okay, so tell me what happened in there.
They went against our policy. So I sent out an email to you all yesterday. And in that email, Jim Gilmore, our developer, showed us that in 2012, we created a policy. That's not eons ago. Most of the commissioners sitting on the commission right now were there when that policy was created. We have not been following that policy for a number of different businesses. So we recognize that. We had a vote in January after they approved the black building, which again was against our policy. And they said, after this one, we're not going to do it anymore. And Mike Williams made a motion saying, we will no longer, as a city commission, look at anything outside of our policy. And they directed this committee to give them a new policy, give us a new policy. So we didn't do that. So we had a policy that we have. We had another vote saying we will follow that policy, and this vote in there showed that we did not follow that policy. So whether you agree with incentives or not, we have these in place for a reason. And that's so that we can't just do whatever we want, spend money irresponsibly here and there. We have a set of guidelines that we have. And we have that for everything in the city of Burgum. So to not follow that is disappointing. And my recourse now is to tell people of Fargo that we're not following what we are saying that we're following.
Can you tell me what they were arguing as their point, that, you know, the benefits to the city? Is that kind of what their point was of this and why they're going against policy?
Sure. So economically, you can say that things like the Renaissance don't have been successful. What my argument has been is that there is a beginning and end to these type of things. So we have a blighted area, like downtown was 15, 17 years ago. Sure, there's an economic reason that the city will get involved. But to have these programs go on for 25, 50, however many years, you see a diminishing return. And you have inflated prices in certain areas. So downtown Fargo is now the most valuable land in North Dakota. We're continuing to incentivize that area. There are other places in Fargo that if you were for these incentives, we could use these more effectively elsewhere. Main Avenue, 13th Avenue, other places in Fargo could use these type of incentives. But instead, we have laser focus on downtown, and we're pouring more and more taxpayer dollars. Now, it's important to point out that when a business gets an incentive, it's not zero impact to the taxpayers. We make up the difference. So we have a 25-year TIF here, we have a 15-year pilot, we have a Renaissance zone, and we have a P3. The P3 is a huge loan. So if they default on that loan, taxpayers are responsible for that. For the pilot and for the Renaissance zone, we pick up the tab on those. So as these companies don't pay for those property taxes, everyone else in the city of Fargo does. Your home, my home, Dave's business, everyone else's taxes are higher because they don't pay taxes. You can make the argument that they, in 25 years, they'll bring more tax revenue to us. That's a huge loan. If I were to tell the people of Fargo that if you give me $1 million, in 25 years I'll give you $2 million, they'd say that's a bad investment. That's exactly what we're doing here. It'll take us 25 years to even break even. It'll take us 30 plus years to start making money. So I think it's a risky investment. You're talking about a parking garage, the life that isn't forever. It does take maintenance to have those things. So it's a risky investment that I think went against our policy, and we did it anyway.
Can you tell me exactly what the policy is?
Right, so for they specifically were voting on the pilot today. In our policy, and I can show you in my office here, it says we will not grant a pilot for anything that is a hotel, retail space, or office space. Block 9 is almost exclusively all those things, and we went ahead and did it anyway. So, you know, I would love to get to, you know, be speeding, have the officer pull me over and say, oh, well, we're going to change the speed limit here in Fargo next week, so don't give me a ticket now. Well, that's exactly what we did. We've been breaking our own policy for a very long time. Instead of saying, oops, we should go back to the policy, we simply said, let's just change the policy. Wouldn't that be nice if we all do that?
And pilot is basically just a tax incentive.
Yeah, payment in lieu of tax, that's a fancy way to say that they don't pay taxes for 15, 25, however many years they want. So they simply don't pay anything above and beyond their baseline, which means their property to the ground. So they'll be paying less in property taxes for Block 9 than I will for my home. So a lot of people see that as unfair. A lot of people say that that's not a smart investment. And I say that I think this investment would happen anyway without it.
What does that equate to over the, how many years long, 15 years?
As we're talking with the pilot, it's 15 years for the pilot.
Okay, and so how much money would that equate in taxes that they'll be saving?
It would be in the millions, but I don't know that number on the top of my head. Yep.
That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. And so when people say this is like neutral to the taxpayer, that's a huge investment that they're making. It's also important to point out, this isn't just the city of Fargo's exemption. We're exempting them from the school district. We're exempting them from the park board, from the county, from the airport, from vector control. They don't pay taxes for anybody. So we as a city commission are going out and saying, well, we'll make the decision for the park board and for the school board. That, in my opinion, is wrong. They should have to go to the school board and say, I don't want to pay your taxes. But that's not how our system works. That's how it should work. So we do have representatives here today from the county and from the schools. They're not voting members. So if they disagreed with it, they couldn't do anything about it. So every 5 years, they get to write a letter of support, a blanket support, saying we approve everything the city does or we disapprove everything the city does. It's not a smart way to do things. So we need to change that process. I'm hoping to change that process soon and move forward from there. But as of today, we have a policy. It's a reason it's in place. It's not ancient. Most of these people approved of it. We reapproved of it in January, and we still went against it. So whether you believe I'm right or wrong, we didn't follow policy today.
So why is it in place?
Good question. And you know what? Why is it in place is a great question. We even voted again we have a policy, we voted to uphold the policy, which is redundant and ridiculous in my opinion. And then we went against it. So when we vote on these things, should you trust us? What are we voting for? If we can just go ahead and go against what we just voted on, why am I there? I spend a lot of time with this job. I do a lot of, I'm here a lot doing these things. My vote doesn't matter. Why am I here?
So what happens next? Can, anybody put up a stink about this? Can people weigh in, or is it just kind of done now?
No, you come to the city commission and have your voice heard there. But that's pretty much your last recourse as far as I go. And the likelihood is that the majority of people will continue to go against our policy and vote for it. I hope they have a change in conscience and they say, you know what, we should wait for your policy. If we have a new policy and it passes, my argument is moot. So let's wait and do it the right way. Because the policy has to be approved by the commission. So we can have our debate there. But right now we're having the debate before the policy's even out. So what are we even debating? I think this is a special deal. I don't like that.
So are you going to be doing anything else on top of, coming to this meeting and pushing other people to try to fall in line?
All I can do is let people know what's going on. And I write on my Facebook page on the city webpage about how I vote and why. I'll continue to do that. And I'll try to let as many people know as possible what my opinion is regarding this issue. And at this point, that's family recourse because my vote doesn't matter and we're not following our policy. So what else can I do?
All right. Do you have any questions? No? Anything else, Roger?
Oh, that's good.
No? Okay. Are you able to get me the number of how much in taxes they'll be saving?
We don't have it here. Let's go talk to...
I'm with that. I don't want to touch it.
We can go to the office here and find out.
Okay. Perfect.
Mr. Gehrig, you hold the Housing Authority portfolio. A gentleman is talking about the emergency towers and the high-rise in a building that may not be there in the future. Have you seen anything recently that suggests demolition?
No, but they're trying to sell it. So
I realize that.
If they don't sell it, then there's really nothing we can do about that. So I don't want that to happen. I don't think anyone wants that to happen. It'd be better for everybody if we were to sell it to a developer. And I'm sure the incentive is involved in that as well.
Now, there was earmark at the legislature that got voted down to remodel at $30 million. Do you support appropriating $30 million to redo it on the city level?
I don't. Well, I mean, for our level, 30 million is about a third of the budget, so I don't know how that would happen. I mean, that's something.
I realize that, sure.
Yeah, so it's hard for me to say yes or no to that question. Since
Yes, the vouchers that they get will not, given their income, allow them to live downtown any longer.
Right.
Yes.
Yep, there you go.
Okay, thank you, sir.
I'm gonna get these guys that information. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yep.